English musician Andy Irvine popped into O'Donoghue's pub in Dublin back in 1962 and he found his spiritual home here in Ireland. Now an adopted Irishman, he has spent the last 60 years performing in Ireland and across the continent, playing his wonderful folk and traditional music. Niall Martin went to meet him.
It was August 1962 when I first set foot in O'Donoghue's. A world of music, friends and booze opened up before me. I never could have guessed as I walked through the door just what the future had in store. A crossroads for my life I saw, lying there to taunt me. Well, I was an actor,
and that was it. Andy Irvine, the man from London, had found his place in the world. Number 15, Marion Row, O'Donoghue's.
Any afternoon you might find there Luke Kelly in his banjo and his red hair. Oh, what times, what an atmosphere. What more could a young man wish for? How I spent my time was never in doubt. This is what life was all about. A bowl of soup and a pint of stout. Honest folk and each shoe, Maripoche.
In the early 1960s, Andy and his coterie of fellow musicians rarely left the confines of Baggot Street, but they did try and make it as far as the city centre, once.
I actually had a flat in Baggot Street, just opposite O'Donoghue's. And Ronnie Drew one day said, lads, he said, you know, we live here in the strip here. I mean, when was the last time any of you was in town? And we all went, oh, don't know. And he said, well, let's organise a trip to Nelson's Pillar. And so this was organised over a few weeks, and eventually it became a pub crawl, of course. We were to drink in every pub on the left-hand side going down to Grafton Street and then onto the Pillar, and drink on all the right-hand ones coming back. And we met at 10:30 in O'Donoghue's, and we sort of had 1 pint in each pub. I think we had probably 2 or 3 in O'Donoghue's before we even started, because there's a long walk to the next one, past Stephen's Green. And we even kind of deviated down in South King Street and had a pint in Sinnott's or Rice's or somewhere like that. By the time we got to McDade's and Neary's, we knew everybody there. And the whole thing got stuck. And I think in the afternoon, with much drunkenness, the whole thing came to an end in O'Neill's of Suffolk Street. And we never got even within sight of the Pillar.
60 years after settling into a nice spot in the corner, Andy Irvine still gigs and enjoys performing. Now 80, he lives in County Wexford with his wife Kumiko. We caught up with Andy as he rehearsed for a gig at the Black Box venue in Belfast. Do you ever miss England?
No, I don't. Quite frankly, I always felt kind of a bit of a stranger there. I went to boarding school from the age of 2.5, which has never been, no, 3.5, I think. Never quite been explained. And I was always an outsider, like, you know. I went to boarding school then until I was about 13 in Buckinghamshire and in Surrey. And I wasn't local. You know, most of the boys there were local. And I was kind of somebody who lived in London. And I was an actor then, eventually, after I was 9 years old. And they didn't know what to make of that. They didn't know whether to be proud of me or think I was bohemian kind of rubbish, like, you know. My mother died when I was 17, so I didn't ever fall out with her. But I did have some fallouts with my father. He'd been brought up as an only child and had a strict upbringing, and he was inflicting it on me. You know, I've always found that strange. I think that's not abnormal. I think fathers often bring up their children in the way they were brought up, whether it be for good or ill.
In 1969, Andy went wandering around Eastern Europe, which was still behind the Iron Curtain. His travels opened up the world of other forms of traditional music in Slovenia and Bulgaria.
Well, I learned, first of all, that the world was basically the same. People in the world were basically the same, and that music of the people was basically the same as well. I mean, okay, Bulgarian music is not exactly like Irish music, but you would recognise it for what it is instantly.
It's a tune called Smaseno Horo, which is it Yugoslav or Bulgarian? It's a Bulgarian tune, written by a Bulgarian from Bulgaria, in Bulgarian.
Meeting new people and new places has always been kind of a big thrill. We slept rough most of the time. It was summer, so it wasn't that difficult. But you'd have to get up quite early in the morning because the sun would come up early. But I remember a party of farm girls on the back of a truck. As we folded up the sleeping bags, they went by and went, "Hey!" like this, you know, and that was great. It was just human, you know, just human.
Andy brought that sense of exploration back to Ireland with Planky, probably one of the most fondly remembered Irish bands from the 70s and 80s.
A blacksmith courted me 9 months and better. He barely...
The frisson of excitement and discovery gradually, not immediately, but gradually it kind of flattened out into your job, really. I mean, not that I don't love it still. I do. I really love it. But it's for the last 50 years. It's become a different thing than it was all those years ago. Okay, the sound check is always a renewal. You know, you take out the instruments, you tune them up, and you play them into these microphones and direct inputs, and that's the moment where you think, okay, this could be a really good gig.
Andy's diary is full of concerts right across Europe. Today he's performing at a sold-out Sunday lunchtime gig in Belfast.
Well, I love it, you know, and if I did retire, I'd miss it very, very seriously. But if I had no outlet to play it to people, I think I'd be very kind of, I'd be disappointed in that. I'm an old pro, you know. During the COVID streaming days, I was useless at streaming. I just couldn't do it without an audience. And as soon as people were allowed to come and sit in, not that many, but I suddenly played a blinder, which I had not played for all these streaming concerts I'd done. So it just showed me the audience is all important.
Yeah, man, please give a big Belfast welcome to Andy Irvine.
If I was washed up on a desert island with 2 instruments, I would never be unhappy again.
And may he reward you well for the slighting of me. Her cheeks grew pale and wan. It made her poor heart to tremble to think she loved a one, and he proved deceitful. Well, some years ago I started to document my life story, and it's on my website, what I wrote then, and andyirvine.com. I finished it like this. I just said, thanks to all the people who have influenced me during my life. I'm still learning, still enjoying myself. And when people sometimes say to me, Jesus, it's well for you, I smile and nod my head because they're dead right. It is.
It's great to see Andy still entertaining the audiences after 60 years. Now, if you want to catch up with Andy during his tour, you can check out the website on screen now. Don't forget, Gina and the Champions are also hitting the road. That's it from everyone on Nationwide. Good night,